Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to another episode of the Manifesting Muslim Ramadan series, Aligning with Allah. We have entered the final stretch of Ramadan. We are in the last 10 days of Ramadan. How are you doing out there? How are you going with everything? I hope that you're still keeping up with everything, that you're still good. I know the energy gets a little bit tired towards the end, but it's also the final stretch. So there's also like a little bit of motivation. So inshallah, you're doing good. Today, we're going to talk about manifestation, law of attraction from an Islamic perspective, and the relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and why it matters, why those two things matter, or have to have such a deep relationship with each other, why they need one, or one needs the other in order for it to work. So, as you know, if you've been here for some time, I started Manifesting Muslimah because I wanted to teach law of attraction from an Islamic perspective. I have been a massive fan of law of attraction for years and years and years and years. I'm pretty sure like 15 years. No, oh my goodness, no, we're coming up to 20 years. I think I just made myself younger or something in my mind. 20 years. SubhanAllah, time really does go by really, really quickly. And I actually found an interest in it before I reverted to Islam. And it never really made much sense to me. Like, I understood the meaning, but I couldn't make, the final little pieces connect. I could never really make it make sense, like in an overall perspective. Even though I'd done so much studying and I'd been following a lot of people, I'd done courses, all of that stuff, it just didn't work for me. And so at some point I took a step back and I was like, listen, I'm just going to live my life and just see what comes. And in that time, I reverted to Islam and I started getting closer to Allah and to like my religion and my faith and things. And the moment that I picked up, the Quran, specifically the Quran, and I started reading the Quran, I started noticing how much in the Quran and how many things Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran that is basically the same as what people teach in law of attraction. And it shocked me at first. I was like, oh, wait a minute. Maybe I can go back to some of those old studies of mine around law of attraction and see what that is all about. So I started looking more and more into it. And I recognized and realized that, hey, I can still manifest. I can still use law of attraction, but I have to do it in alignment with Allah and in alignment with Islam. So while a lot of the theories are very similar to mainstream law of attraction, there are some differences, and many of those the differences, or the major differences, is obviously we're not asking the universe. This one of the major ones, we're asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but another one is that we are not co-creators and we are not creators. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is a creator. And so there's a lot of shirk in mainstream law of attraction, which we have to be very careful with. And that is why I was like, the more I learned and understood about law of attraction from an Islamic perspective, I was like, I need to tell people, because I see a lot of Muslims having a huge interest in it, as did I, but I want to make sure that we're all practicing from a halal perspective. So that was a little bit of the backstory, in case I'm not going to go too much further into detail on that. I'm pretty sure I must have explained that story at some other point somewhere. If I haven't, let me know and I'll make an episode about it. But ultimately, one of the things that happened when I started practicing law of attraction from an Islamic perspective is I was just thinking, I'm going to connect also to the dunya more. I'm going to get the dunya things. And, it was very dunya focused for me initially. And I think it is for a lot of people. Law of attraction is definitely one of those things that we use because we want to gain a lot of things in this life. And so, of course, it was the same for me. I was like, I can get like a big house, I can get a car, I can get money, I can get this, I can get that. So it was very much focused in that. But then when I started practicing law of attraction from an Islamic perspective, all of a sudden, I realized one thing. The more I practiced it, the closer I actually moved to Allah and the more disconnected from dunya I became. Because the way that law of attraction from an Islamic perspective works is you surrender everything back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So you're actually learning surrendering. You're learning giving up your will for Allah's will. You're learning tawakkul, to trust in Allah's will. This is not to say that you're not getting or not wanting things in this dunya, but it's to say that the very core essence of this is actually trusting in Allah and surrendering back to Allah and having faith in Allah. And that is perhaps one of the things that or if not the thing that I love the most about law of attraction from an Islamic perspective, is that when you're in there, when you're actually following through with it, you actually end up with a stronger connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I did not expect that when I went into it, and when I started setting it all up and being like, okay, what do the steps look like from an Islamic perspective? And, what do I have to do and things? And I was like, oh, wait a minute. Wow. And it's so stupid, right? Because I think we all have those moments sometimes where we're like, oh my God, Allah, wow, you're so clever, I know it sounds so strange, but we all have those moments of like, oh wow, subhanallah, this is really like, of course it is. And it's because it's from Allah, right? And I had that moment, of course, with law of attraction from an Islamic perspective, where I was like, wow, Allah, you the man, right? And that's really what made me want to teach other people law of attraction from an Islamic perspective. And that's also, by the way, why I wrote the book. And if you haven't got it yet, you need to just check the link in my bio. I think it's like £12 or something for the book. And I go through all the steps, because I'm not going to go through that in this episode. So if you're wondering about that, go and check that out. Get yourself a copy of the book. You won't regret it. But the point is that a lot of the things that you have to do, or a lot of the steps when it comes to practicing law of attraction as a Muslim, is that you actually have to have a very strong connection with Allah. And you can build the connection through using law of attraction, or you can do it beforehand. And I personally did it sort of using law of attraction, and then at some point, well, I did it before that, but then it kind of like got stronger as I was using law of attraction, because it forced me to do certain things that in this dunya didn't feel logical, didn't make sense, but from a religious and spiritual perspective made all the sense, and in the end gave me far greater results than if I'd followed mainstream rules on manifestation and law of attraction. But ultimately, every single step that you're doing or taking when you're practicing law of attraction as a Muslim has to align with Allah's way, with Allah's perspective, with Allah's demands for us, with Allah's rules, and with Allah's everything that He has given us, which means that ultimately you can only practice law of attraction and securely practice it, and from a place where you're actually successfully practicing it, when your relationship with Allah is there. And so if it's not there, you might be struggling with some of the elements. That doesn't mean to say that you're not going to be able to get success with it, but it means that is where you need to work on it. That is where your relationship with Allah could do with a little bit of work, do with a little bit of strengthening, do with a little bit extra effort, whatever it might be. So it can really highlight for you the areas of your relationship with Allah that could be struggling at the moment. So it's also a really good way to look at, okay, but I'm actually good with everything else, but this one thing, and maybe has nothing to do with tawakkul, you trust Allah, you have no issue coming to your dua and speaking and all of these things, you have no issue being grateful, but when it comes to having sabr, patience, and surrendering your timeline, your idea of when certain things are going to happen, that may be the part where you're like, ooh, hold on a minute, I really want it to happen now. And so having to surrender that back and work on that part of your relationship with Allah, where you're saying, I have no control over this. Only Allah can control it. And so it's best for me. It's in my best interest to actually surrender that back and have sabr with it. That is so powerful. As I said, it was such an unexpected side effect almost of using law of attraction from an Islamic perspective for me. I see it now more and more in my clients, because now I've got like the gift of hindsight, so I can see what is happening. I don't know if my clients know that it's happening. I think they do, because I constantly talk about it, of course. But I don't know when people come to me that they think, oh, I'm going to strengthen my relationship when I practice law of attraction from an Islamic perspective. Maybe I should be more vocal about that. But the point is that I like to see that happening for my clients, that they're building more trust, that they're having more like calm sabr, that, where they're not stressing, that they're getting better at surrendering their idea of the outcome and things like that. And it's happening slowly but surely. And you can see that relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grow for them. And it's such a pleasure as a coach to see that in other people. And I just love that you can use something that, the mainstream might have taken it at some point or another. Let's be real here. It was whitewashed. It was whitewashed to hell and back. And it became all about you being a creator, and you don't ask God, you ask the universe, and or what is it people say at this point? They say you ask the guardian angels and you ask your ancestors. And listen, you believe in what you believe in, but it's so interesting to me that these things most likely came from religion to begin with. Of course with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but like wherever the people got it from, to the point where it got into the mainstream. I don't know if they got it directly from Islam or a different religion, but the point is it probably came from religion. And then they did everything to remove religion from it. It came from God, and they removed God and made themselves God. Astaghfirullah. And so it's so interesting to see something like that. And now, to the point, because of the way that mainstream media and coaches and whatever are talking about manifestation and law of attraction, to the point where religious people are now calling it shirk, even though it actually came from Allah, because the roles have reversed so much, because it's been so whitewashed and so I don't even know what the word is for it when you've removed God from it. Like, they've just removed so much of God from the message, to the point where it looks haram now. And of course it is haram if you're doing it their way, because you're committing shirk. But if you bring it back, it's all about coming back to Allah. It's all about recognizing your responsibility, your autonomy, your free will, where things come from, where things don't come from, the meaning of things, and all of those things. And it has such a beautiful root system in Islam. And it's really beautiful once you understand that, and once you participate in that lifestyle, and you start seeing how it's not just a question of, oh my God, all of my, wildly dreams in this earth are coming true, which they can, but it's coming from a position where, but the most important thing is that I have Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So even though you want all of those things, because now your relationship with Allah is so much stronger, you're like, but I'm good still because I have Allah. And I don't know about you, but that brings me so much peace in this world. Anyway, if you haven't already purchased the book, my Manifesting Muslim, a Law of Attraction Guide for Muslims, you can find it. It's linked in my bio. It's linked in the description of this episode, all of the places. I think it's £12 for the book or whatever. But go and check that out. Give it a go for yourself. It may help you on your journey as well, as it did for me, to really strengthen my relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I would encourage you just to delve into areas that support this surrendering to Allah. Anything that helps you surrender more to Allah's will. Go down that path. That is ultimately what it comes down to, understanding your role and Allah's role, and what you're responsible for and what Allah is responsible for. And the more you know around that it just becomes so much easier to stop worrying about things that you can't control and take control of the things that you are in control of. All right, my darling, that is what I had for you today. I will see you, inshallah, in tomorrow's episode. But until then, my darling friend, please don't forget to live in love.